Hey guys, it's Sasha and I'm back with my first video of 2017. I'm going to be talking about my 2016 reading year in review. We're going to be going over all my reading statistics, and I saw a video like this last year done by I think Lamp Sunnies, and I really wanted to do one similar to this last year, but I just didn't ever get around to it. Now I'm doing it for 2016, so I'm really excited. I hope y'all will enjoy. So in 2016 I read 133 books, and the total of pages I read were 43,654. For Goodreads, my original reading goal was 170, but when it was getting to be June and July, I changed it to 150 because I was falling into, I would say, reading slumps. I wasn't really reading as much as I usually do. Kind of disappointed with how much I read this year, because in 2015 I read 204 books, and I would have really liked to be up in that number region again, but I am still pleased with all the books I read. I read a lot of great books this year. The average rating overall I gave was 3.7 stars, and this isn't as accurate as I would like it to be because I'm getting this off Goodreads, and Goodreads doesn't factor in like half stars, and some books I did give half stars, and I was kind of too lazy to go over all the books I read and calculate it myself. The average book length that I read this year was 313 pages. The shortest book I read this year was The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde, and that is 56 pages, and the longest book I read this year was Winter by Marissa Myers, and that is 823 pages. Fun fact, I rated both of those 5 stars. So to break it down even further, I read 3 books under 100 pages, and that is 2.25% of the books I read this year. In between 100 and 190, I read 27 books, and that is 20.3%. From 200 to 290 pages, I read 25 books, and that is 18.8%. From 300 to 399, I read 38 books, and that is 28.6%. From 400 to 499 pages, I read 26 books, and that's 19.5%. For 500 to 599, I read 10 books, and that is 7.5%. For 600 to 699 pages, I read 3 books, and that is 2.25%. For 700 to 799 pages, I read 0 books, so that is 0%. And for 800 to 899 pages, I read 1 book, and that is 0.75%. The month in which I read the most books was February, and I read 29 books, and that would be 21.8%. 13 of those were manga, so that obviously boosted it up, and April and July came in with the lowest months, where I only read 6 books. And that would be 4.5%. Now, on Goodreads, I tend to shelve all my books in the genre I think they belong in, and as you can see, I have a lot of books on my historical fiction shelf, and that is mostly what I read this year because I love historical fiction. After that, you'll see romance, and any book that tends to have any sort of romance in it, I will shelve under romance as well, so that's why that shelf is quite long. And right under that is young adults, and so that I would technically consider that the second most read and not romance, because I don't really read a lot of straight up romance novels. As you can see, my trigger warning drugs shelf, my humor shelf, and my new adult shelf all come in last with only 1 book. It's really surprising. I did male versus female. What was really surprising about this was I did not realize that how many male authors I read as well as female. I really thought I read a lot more female authors than male authors, but I read 63 male authors this year, and that came out to 43.4%. And I read 66 female authors this year, and that came out to 49.6%. And for both, I read 4 books where they were both male and female authors, and that came out to 3%. I also did where the authors are from, where they were born. And the US weighs in number 1 with 70 books where the authors come from the US, and that is 52.6%. And next is the UK, where I read 21 authors, and that is 15.8%. Canada comes in third with 14 authors, and that is 10.5%. Japan comes in fourth with 13, and that is 9.8%. China comes with 6, and that is 3.8%. India comes with 2, and that is 1.5%. And then I have Russia, Sweden, Germany, France, Greece, and the Middle East. And they weigh in at 0.8%. Really, this statistic really surprised me when weighed with white versus non-white. I read 108 white authors that weighed in at 81.2%, and I read 25 persons of color, and that weighed in at 18.8%. And the next statistic I have is book format, paperback, and I read 112, and that is 84.2%. The next is hardback, and I read 17 hardbacks this year, and that is 12.8%. And the next is ebooks, and I read 4 ebooks this year, and that comes in at 3%. The most popular book I read this year was Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. The least popular book I read was My Light at the End of the Tunnel. The highest rated read that I read this year on Goodreads would have to be Evidence Not Seen by Darling Debler Rose, and the average rating on that is 4.5 stars on Goodreads. That's all for now. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check me out on my other social media links. They'll be in the description down below. I'll check you all out later. Bye!